Hi, I'm Beth.
I'm Hannah,
and this is
the XX Podcast.
So, this is our new adventure into podcasting. Over the summer, I've left the University of Sheffield, and I am now doing a master's course in science communication, where we're actually doing a module called Science on Air and on Screen, and in that we learnt a little bit about podcasting. So decided to give it a go, and on this course I met the lovely Hannah. Hello, Hannah.
Hi. Yeah, podcasting is completely new to me. I've actually been out of education a lot longer than you have. I finished my bachelor's back in 2014.
What did you do your bachelor's in?
I did it in zoology.
Okay, cool. So we've got two biologists back, so seems to be a theme with XX Science. Can't get away from biologists.
No, not at all. Unusually on the course, actually, there's a very high proportion of specifically zoologists compared to any other background.
Yeah, apparently zoologists like to talk about science as well as actually do it.
It turns out, yeah.
Yeah. So this podcast is basically we're going to talk a little bit about movies, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that was what we agreed.
Yeah, because the normal channel and the videos and stuff, I know we've been awful at it over the summer because with me and Lucy we moved to different unis and everything went really complicated. So the podcast is going to be something a little bit different. So we're going to talk about films, but specifically scientists in films, and even more specifically female scientists in films, because we think they're cool.
Yeah, and I think they're often quite underrepresented.
Or misrepresented.
Very valid point, yes.
Yeah. So we're going to have a little chat about that. Some weeks we'll talk about a particular movie. I guess we need to work out how spoiler strict we're going to be on some of these.
Ooh, yeah, I'm really bad for spoilers.
Yeah, I think if we have new films, we'll tack a spoiler warning on there.
Yes.
But if anything's old,
I think that's a free-for-all if it's old.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm probably going to spoil films for myself in the process of this by not having watched them before we try and talk about them.
How old is old, though?
Oh, let's cross those bridges when we come to them. We'll write what we talk about in the description so that people can give it a quick check before they ruin their lives by knowing what happens.
Content warnings.
Yeah.
Good plan.
But I think so. Sometimes we'll talk about a particular film. Sometimes we might talk about a particular actor or actress.
Or even tropes or themes that we find.
Or like a series of films, maybe. So you mentioned just before we started recording, you mentioned Alien. So.
Oh yeah, probably my all-time favourite series of films, the Aliens. Quadrant. Four? There's four of them. Okay.
I mean,
the four films of Alien.
Are you counting Prometheus in there?
Oh no.
That
does count though.
It counts, and also, I mean, if you're talking about Alien, that even extends into video games.
Oh, it does.
With Alien Isolation. So,
okay.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like that is a huge chunk.
Might be able to talk about female scientists in video games as well. That could be quite fun.
Oh yeah, that would be really interesting.
Extend into that. Yeah. So. You're saying that your favourite film is the Alien trilogy. Is that favourite film? What series? Or is that
I think specifically
sci-fi?
The film Alien is my favourite film.
Okay.
I really enjoy sci-fi, but particularly sci-fi horror and thriller.
Okay, cool.
But only because I enjoy being scared.
Okay.
In a safe way.
Yeah. See, I played Alien Isolation with one of my friends from school, Tim, if you're listening. Shout out to you, you remember this. I played Alien Isolation in his flat and I got about 2 minutes in because I got too scared. So I'm awful at horror films. I think my favourite films are definitely escapist ones, but I quite like Studio Ghibli movies.
Oh yeah, lovely films.
Which aren't sci-fi, but I really, really like superhero movies. A bit of a Marvel addict. Especially the ones that no one else seems to like and think are all the bad ones as well. Like I watched X-Men Apocalypse the other day and actually quite enjoyed it. So yeah, but let's not talk about Batman vs Superman yet. That's still a raw wound. But yeah, so I would say that I think that who plays? So I don't really know very much about Alien. So
it came out in I think actually 1979. So it's been quite a while.
School.
Yeah, really old school. But it was by Ridley Scott, and the actress that played Ellen Ripley was Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, she is amazing.
Exactly.
She's in Avatar as well, isn't she?
Yeah,
I think she's
she
a
is.
female scientist in Avatar as
she
well.
is.
So she might be one of those actresses that we do an episode on her specifically.
Yeah, she's really good, actually. I think she was
Yeah.
really great in that. And it was a really interesting first portrayal of like a strong female heroine, like in a sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
It was really, really interesting aspect.
Cool. See, I think that one of probably my favourite female scientist in a film is, I can't even remember her name, but it's the Natalie Portman's character from the Thor films.
Oh.
And I find that super interesting because I think she's an astrophysicist in the films.
I think you might be right. Yeah, no, I remember it.
But Natalie Portman's got a PhD in, I think she's got a PhD in astrophysics.
That's fantastic.
I'm gonna look that up now. We're gonna have a quick fact check.
Okay, that's good.
Let's Google Natalie Portman. Oh, I can't spell, which doesn't help.
It wasn't all her character was. In a lot of portrayals, like the scientist only does science, they're only interested in science, and is completely unromantic as well. Whereas in that film, she does have romantic interests.
Yeah. Oh no, she's a psychologist.
Wait, Natalie Portman is a psychologist.
Is a psychologist.
Okay.
And she's actually co-authored on 2 research papers published in scientific journals. So I quite like that she's a scientist playing a scientist.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I like that kind of thing, and I like Natalie Portman.
And that is also the case in Big Bang Theory, isn't it?
Yes, with Mayim Balik.
Amy, yes.
Farrah Fowler.
I was really hoping.
She plays a neuroscientist, and she is a neuroscientist.
Yes.
And apparently some of the lines that she has are actually her science. So some of the experiments are based on experiments that she's actually done in real life. With some of her monkey studies, obviously exaggerated for comic effect.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's legitimate. I think that there's a line between sci-fi and sci-fact where a lot of scientists kind of say, oh, science fiction has to be more real science, like, Star Wars, you wouldn't be able to hear any of the sounds because sound doesn't travel in space. Yeah, but it would be a slightly less exciting film if you couldn't hear the lasers going pew pew all the time.
It really would. And I was reading an article earlier that was saying that so there was a convention where scientists and journalists and policymakers got together and talked about myths around science in the media and portrayals of science in public. And one thing that came back was that the entertainment sector and the media producing sci-fi was devaluing science.
Ooh.
But actually, it turned out that through research that was done by the guys that did this article, I will give you their names afterwards, that the portrayal of science, even in sci-fi, even when it's exaggerated, massively, it
helps.
Yeah, it gives a much more positive view of science and scientists, even if it's exaggerated in a good or bad way. Just the fact that it's there in media gives a really positive view.
Well, I think that we talk quite a lot in the course about how a lot of scientists are kind of portrayed as these stereotypical nerds that like sci-fi, but actually talking to other scientists, you do find that in real life a shocking amount of scientists are really interested in sci-fi.
Yeah.
But also you talk to people who like sci-fi that have absolutely no science background or training at all.
Yeah.
So I actually think that as a medium, it's potentially a really good way to bring people together.
Yeah. Well, I think
science.
Stereotypes come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And very often they come from truths that we see.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily unfair to think that people who work in science are going to be interested in science fiction and sci-fi.
Yeah.
I think that for a lot of people that's their route in.
I think there are harmful stereotypes.
Oh, of course.
So I mean, the one that we see is this stereotypical trope of a scientist is an old white man with Einstein hair, is a bit crazy and either wants to rule the world or, doesn't care about it at all and is in his own world.
So rule it or destroy it, really.
Yeah. So hopefully we're gonna find some scientists who break that over the course of.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, if we don't, we might have to make an XX film.
Yeah.
Please don't hold me to that, because that's quite a lot of work to do making a movie.
I hear it's a lot.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that might be it for our first episode today.
I think short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet. We might be back with a longer one. We don't really have a release schedule yet, but if we come up with one, don't worry, we will let you know. Talk to us on Twitter at XX_Science. Tell us all of your ideas for episodes. We'd like to hear your own opinions, your own favourite films, your own favourite female scientists, or male scientists as well. We still like the boys, don't worry. But yeah, so I think that's it for our first episode. So I've been Beth.
I've been Hannah. And this has been the XX Podcast.